Alon, I'm glad you're here, man, because this podcast is a lot better to do when someone's with you.
I believe that. Talking by yourself is kind of like I don't know. How much are you in love with your own voice? I guess.
Dude, I only did about 30 minutes, and I was like, this sucks.
Gotta
Plus,
get
I
outta
want to
here.
apologize to everybody that listened to the podcast-only edition of Just Your Pregame Show, man, on Sunday. I said that this is Hunter Renfro's first game back since the concussion in week 2. Incorrect. Shout out to my guy Aram, texted me right after immediately and totally forgot that Hunter Renfro and Devontae Adams collided into each other a week ago. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's why I like having you here, because you can correct me on my idiotic mistakes. But Alon is here, and Steven is back, by the way. Just your opinion, man, midday show. So Steven is back from merry old London. He's going to join me on Sunday. But here's the deal. Because our schedules are so kind of chaotic right now, with me doing the afternoon show and Steven doing his morning routine at KCBS, Steven will join me on Sundays. But Alon is going to join me during the week. When Steven can join me during the week, he will come in. No one's getting Wally pipped here. We love you, Alon, but
No, yeah, totally.
But yeah, when Steven can join during the week, he will. But for now, Alon will join during the week. So Alon, glad to have you.
Yeah, no, glad to be here, and of course, Derek. Anytime I can fill in, always happy to do so. And don't cut yourself short. I'd listen to 30 minutes to an hour of the Derek Papa solo dolo show. I'd listen to that.
Oh, dude, I did that during the old Pandy, as they call it, doing my own podcast, the Truth Machine podcast. And
It's so hard.
It was fun for a little while. Then I just ran out of shit to say by myself. It was too much. But we got stuff to talk about today. We got a Raider win. We got a 49er loss. We got a bunch of reactions to games that happened this past weekend. We got some trades that went down. Trade that went down today that I'm kind of surprised about. And we'll talk a little bit of baseball, World Series, and a little bit of Warriors action, NBA. But let's start first and foremost with the Las Vegas Raiders. Alon, you were there on Sunday, and I'm glad to hear that Texans fans did not take over that stadium.
No, I mean, there weren't
I mean that jokingly, because
yeah,
the Texans don't have that big of a fan base.
they don't. They don't.
They shouldn't take over a Raider stadium.
No, I mean, they didn't. I will say this, though. That stadium, for whatever reason, and you could attribute it to the fact that they had only had one win going into that game, or, the team's just not playing complete ball game or whatever. But that stadium was quiet for about the first, not 30 minutes of game time, but about the first 30 minutes of being in there. And I was trying to think to myself, I went, well, man, this is weird. And my brother texted me, who's watching on TV and even listening on the radio, goes, man, it sounds like it's an empty stadium. I go, no, I mean, it's pretty much full. And only thing I could think of was everybody must have been hungover that morning, or something was going on, because you saw people walking into that stadium looking like death. And I was just like, all right, it must have been a wild night out there. There was the big When We Were Young festival that got canceled on Saturday. It's do you know about this, Derek? The big music festival?
When we were young, no. Steven probably would know. He's a big festival guy.
He would. So it's all what's it, punk rock, or whiny white boy music, I guess I've heard some people call it.
There you go.
Simple Plan
shit.
Simple Plan shit. Exactly. So there was that. It got canceled on Saturday, but then it was on Sunday. So I think a lot of people who didn't go Saturday because it got canceled were probably like, well, I guess I'll go to a Raider game tomorrow. And some of them probably were just like, what the hell is football? So, But anyway, it was a fun time. And, it didn't get taken over. I will say this. The Houston fans, a lot of them, it was like they were just there at the game to talk about the Astros, not about the Texans. I mean, can't really blame them.
I remember that a couple of years ago when Rockets fans didn't invade Oracle Arena. They never would, but some were there, and they were getting their ass kicked. They were the Rockets that and all they could say is, well, at least the Astros are good. The Astros are good.
And they are.
Did you ever get caught up in the whole cheating scandal thing? Because quite honest, I don't care.
I don't care at all.
As an A's fan myself, I don't care about the Astros cheating. At the end of the day, they still won. Now how they went about it, not great, but I'm not naive to think that a bunch of teams were doing that as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Derek. I'm not naive enough to think that it was just the Astros who were using electrical devices, technology to steal signs. It's
Technology
just
and stuff.
technology. And yes, as Chevy guy would say,
Chevy guy, yeah.
as he would say, technology and stuff. But boy, that guy, he was so nervous. But yeah, they still won. It was legitimate in terms of, they played a series. It was a full season they played. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry, Dodgers fans, but taking a shot there. Like, you won your champions. LA Laker fans too. You guys won championships during not full seasons. But like, I always go back to it. The Astros, if you look at the statistics and the analytics about their offense when they were doing that supposed cheating, which they did do, like, it's negligible to how it helped them. It may have not actually helped them at all.
I'm sure it helped, but at the same time,
sure maybe psychologically, I don't know.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like, I don't know, like, they have to win all those games at the end too. I kind of equate it to steroids a little bit. Like, it happened. The end result is what it is, and I know, that's a little conversation for another day. But as far as, we'll talk about the World Series a little bit later. But Astros are back in it, and we'll see if Dusty Baker gets a ring and maybe retire. But as far as the other Houston team, Texans came into Allegiant Stadium to play the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raiders needed this one bad. They were on the bye week with a 1-4 record, and quite simply, Alon, that this is a game they needed to win, and they got it done. It was a little dicey at times. The defense is not exactly where it should be with this illusion of complexity run by Patrick Graham.
Yeah,
not enough pass rush for my liking. Max Crosby's doing a good job. Probably a Pro Bowl season for him, but only a half a sack for Chandler Jones this season. Not a lot of pass rush going on whatsoever. Another pick six, or I guess another defensive touchdown. There was a fumble recovery a couple weeks ago against the Denver Broncos. But as far as the offense, this offense runs through Josh Jacobs right now. He finished with 143 yards and 3 touchdowns. This guy's been on a tear the last 3 weeks. Against the Chiefs, against the Broncos. It has been a run-oriented offense. Not what I thought it was going to be. You've seen Josh McDaniels' offenses in the past. It's been very pass. With a lot of the running backs catching passes. We don't think of those Patriot teams in recent years as a run-oriented offense. There was a lot of check-down stuff to James White or Rex Burkhead, and that's what I thought this Raider offense was going to be this season. But for the most part, how do you think this offensive line has been holding up? Because they've been doing a great job with the run blocking, but as far as pass blocking, do you think that Josh McDaniels has been leaning on the run because they're stronger in that department as opposed to the pass blocking?
I agree with that. Their pass protection still leaves a lot to be desired. Not so much. I don't want to put it on Colton Miller's side. He's actually pretty solid. He's turned out to be a good player, but you have some rookie guards, some younger guys on the interior. Andre James is been a fine center now that he's established himself. But, you kind of got the rotating door over at right tackle, and then you got 2 guards who, sometimes show up and sometimes they're not that impressive. So I do think he's leaned on the ground game. I will say this. I mean, the power runs and the ISO runs that they've been using, they're pulling guards and they're playing it's smash mouth, kind of run game. It's not the outside zone kind of stuff. And not that Josh Jacobs can't do that. He did do that in the past. So I think McDaniels is leaning on that. I don't think it's like an indictment of his lack of skill position players, because I think he knows what he has offensively in the passing game. It is tough when Waller and Renfrow are either not healthy or not contributing the way that people expected them to. But I also think Josh McDaniels knows he has a pretty darn good back in Josh Jacobs. And the thing about Jacobs is so interesting. He doesn't have that breakaway speed. He's not going to get to the second level generally and then take off for a 35, 40-yard gallop after he hits the second level and, break one off. But he'll have 4 runs of 10 yards or more. Like, he'll get to the second level very easily. He's very good at getting through the line when it looks like there's nothing there. So I think he does a very good job of manufacturing yards, and he does a really good job of breaking tackles or arm tackles. He's very good after contact. So I think McDaniels knows what he has, and in a way, I think he's waiting for the offensive line to kind of come together and get better at pass blocking. Play action's been really good for them. And I think he's also waiting for Renfrow to get back to Renfrow status and for Waller to finally show up and be a part of this team this season.
Yeah, I mean, this team doesn't lack the skill positions. I mean, obviously they got Devontae Adams, but That's the thing, is that Hunter Renfrow has not been Hunter Renfrow this season so far. He's been injured, but nickel corners are taking him away.
They are.
He still have a production here or there, but not the same volume that he had a season ago. And the big problem is Darren Waller has just not been Darren Waller, or he hasn't just been playing at all. You had a week off with the hamstring injury. I understand hamstring injuries are no joke, but this has been a constant thing with Darren Waller, and he's already got locked up the contract, so he's going to be there for the foreseeable future. But this is a problem where Darren Waller needs to be supposedly the third best tight end in football, right behind Travis Kelce and George Kittle. I would put Mark Andrews above him right now because at least you can rely on Mark Andrews. Darren Waller's got to keep playing. Regardless, they got the win, and that's just the one caveat I have is the defense. I guess two caveats, but the defense, I want it a little better because this is going to be a tough division going forward. At least we think so, but on paper it should have been. And also just Derek Carr's been playing fine, not many turnovers, but I expected this offense to be explosive through the air. It's great that it's getting done on the ground, but when you have the skill guys that I just said, you expect a little bit more. And it may just be a weird season altogether. Like the only team that I think can score consistently are the Bills and Chiefs. And I think the Raiders should be in that, that group soon, but it may take time. But they have the skill possession of the skill possession guys that are just as good as, or even better than the Chiefs, Bills, Rams. The Rams aren't doing well either, but I just think that this passing game should be pretty explosive. I guess in a couple weeks here, hopefully. But it may be the pass protection. It may just be that it's year one of a Josh McDaniels offense for Derek Carr and all these guys, and they may be humming next season. But you want to get it done this season, and they still have a chance. They're only 2-4, and everybody in this NFL season has been underperforming. There's only a few good teams, in my opinion. But yeah, that's one thing I'm a little disappointed with is the passing game. This team should be scoring in the high 30s, 40s even. And it will come in time. They scored 38 against the Texans. But I do think that I want to see more of a high-flying, explosive offense because the running game is there. And Josh Jacobs getting it done. You don't need to lock up him yet with the contract extension. That could be done pretty soon.
Keeps getting more expensive, though.
Well, that's the thing is like he's playing well, but he doesn't need to be paid. I mean, obviously you gave extensions to Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller this offseason, so you got to figure out what you're to give Josh Jacobs to. And luckily, running backs don't make that much money. But yeah, I think this team will be very explosive once they figure out every facet of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, they're very close. I think they figured out the run side of things, which is great because that just helps you, especially when you're playing. I don't want to like diss the Texans or anything, but when you're playing a team that has an inferior roster to you, a running game is great because sometimes the passing game gets out of whack, or all kinds of sorts of things happen. But if you have a good running game, you can always lean on that. And as far as explosive offense goes, we've seen flashes of it, the deep balls to either Mac Hollins or Devontae. During that Chiefs game, we saw a couple of deep strikes to Adams, and we saw a deep strike to about a 30-yard touchdown pass from Carr to Mac Hollins this past weekend. But, it's funny that you bring up the points and how Kansas City and Buffalo are probably the only two offenses that you can truly believe in terms of getting that 30-point kind of area every week. And if you look at points per game, the Las Vegas Raiders, their offense is actually ranked number 3 behind the Chiefs and the Bills. So points per game wise, the Chiefs are at 31.9. The Bills are at 29.3, and then the Raiders are at 27.2. And then in fourth place is the Eagles. Do you have a guess on who's number 5 to round out that top 5? So it's Chiefs, Bills, Raiders, Eagles. Who would you think is the fifth? It's an NFC team.
So this is the average points scored per game?
Points per game. Yeah, points per game. So this is the number 5 points per game offense.
Well, a couple weeks ago they were number 1, so I'm going to guess that they're 5 now. They just dropped off a little bit. The Lions?
No, it's actually the Seahawks.
I believe that. Yeah,
Geno Smith.
The Seahawks are scoring a lot of points. They're number 1 in the NFC West right now. But
No.
This whole
But
NFL has been so fucking
it's
weird this season.
that's why I'm saying it's weird because you don't look at the Seahawks as world beaters, and the Eagles can be very good at times, and the Raiders are kind of like that as well. They can be good at times, you would think, with the roster that they have. But yeah, I mean, in terms of points, they got the top. They're they're the number 3 point scoring team in the league offensively. So I think once that passing game gets to kind of that, say right now it's like at a C+ level. If it gets to that B+ level with right around a B+ A- running game, it's like that's some tough stuff to contend with. And then you go back to what Raiders people have been saying for the last 20 years basically. When is the defense going to get good?
Yeah.
Because Trayvon Merrick for whatever reason on Sunday couldn't cover anybody, and he was put in some weird positions. And Anthony Averett was forced to play some weird coverage responsibilities, and he didn't do a very good job either coming back from injury. So they still have holes to shore up.
No, they definitely do, but they're right in it. And I got to ask you, Alon, I hate thinking about this season has been so unpredictable that it's just hard to say like, oh, this is a win or this is a win. Like we'll talk about it later, but the fact that the Bears beat the Patriots to me is just shocking. Like I, in a million years, would not have picked that outcome. But we'll get to that a little later. If you look at the Raiders' schedule, they got favorable games coming up. So they go to New Orleans this week. Andy Dalton's already been announced as the starter. I don't know what that means for Jameis Winston in the future for him. After that, they go to Jacksonville. After that, they go to the Indianapolis Colts. And I got to say this real quick before we go any further. The fact that the Colts have been a huge disappointment this season. I thought they'd be, when we did our season predictions with me and Steven, I had the Colts as the number 2 seed in the AFC. I thought they were right there with the Buffalo Bills. And the fact that they traded for Matt Ryan and thinking that Matt Ryan was going to be better than Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz hasn't done well either, but at least he can move in the pocket a little bit. But he's out for the next 4 weeks, and he got Taylor Heineke, being the quarterback for that team right now. And we'll see if Carson Wentz gets his job back because it seems like they play a lot better for Taylor Heineke. Regardless, Matt Ryan throwing whatever his stat line is, 8 interceptions this season, a ton of fumbles, and he doesn't look the same. You hear there's rumors that scouts have said that he is shot. And the day after they lose to the Titans for the 4th consecutive time, they bench Matt Ryan, their veteran, the veteran quarterback that they thought was going to be their Matthew Stafford this season. He is benched for the remainder of the season in favor of a guy that I watched a lot at Texas, Sam Ehlinger. And Sam Ehlinger is an interesting guy. I never thought he'd be an NFL quarterback, and we'll see if he is. This is with the intention of him playing the rest of the season. They also have Nick Foles, and he could very well come in and play. But I'm surprised the Colts are pulling the cord quickly on this. I understand Matt Ryan has a shoulder separation, and they may just think that he's not very good anymore, and they didn't really know what they were trading for. They are getting a guy that was, he's a very good leader and a very Peyton Manning-like presence, a CEO type of quarterback. But the fact that they traded for this guy, it's in a way failed already, is very alarming to me. And Sam Ehlinger, we'll see how he throws. He's very mobile. I always thought he was a good athlete. Don't know if he's a good quarterback in the NFL, an NFL quarterback, I should say. So we'll see how it goes with the Colts. But just, I was shocked to see that Monday morning where Frank Reich just kind of nonchalant was like, yeah, we're going with Sam Ehlinger. He's going to be our quarterback going forward.
Sam Ehlinger's tough. He's a great athlete. He can move. And sometimes in a spot start to kind of see what you got, those legs and those physical attributes can really help you out and get you to success. I think on a podcast last season, Derek, we were talking about Colts Raiders, and I had said, if for some reason Sam Ehlinger plays this game, I would like the Colts in it. I said if he doesn't, I'd like the Raiders, because I remember saying that because I think Sam Ehlinger is a very interesting player and can do some things. But yeah, I mean, at this point, unless Matt Ryan, gets the shoulder under control and then comes back and they go on some type of run, you do have to call that trade a failure, at least for right now. And it's huge when you're benching. You're not just benching your starting quarterback that you traded for. You're benching a future Hall of Famer. I mean, Matt Ryan's going to go to the Hall of Fame, and
You think so?
yeah, he has the numbers to back it up, and he doesn't have the Super Bowl, but I don't think that's a prereq for getting into the Hall of Fame anymore right now. But
I don't know if I put him in there, and you know, there's going to be cases for a lot of guys like Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers, I think, is a Hall of Famer too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he has more of a case than Matt Ryan. But
but that's fine. But they're kind of in that same area. So you've gone from, and they tried doing the same thing. They're like, okay, well, Philip's gone, let's bring in Matt Ryan, see how that goes. And yeah, I mean, like you said, Scout said he's looked shocked. Not shocked, shot. Like physically, he does not look good. When I watch him play the game, he drops back there, and I'm like, oh man, I'm worried about him. Like he's going to get hit. Like his bones are going to get rattled. When he throws the ball, there's. It's not that there's not much zip on it, but it's just late, or it's just not Matt Ryan. It's not Matt Ryan from even 3 years ago with the Falcons.
Right.
And I agree with you. I mean, I really like the Titans in that division because I have for a while, just because of Derrick Henry and what he does. I think Mike Vrabel's a solid coach, but I thought the Colts were the most talented team in that division by far. They have it's tailor-made. They have a defense. They can run the ball. They have a darn heady coach in Reich. Like he knows what he's doing. And it just seems like if they could just figure out that quarterback spot, that they could, ascend to all kinds of heights. And maybe, I mean, it's funny, Ellinger is there, but then like, okay, Nick Foles could come in and play. It's like, does Nick Foles kind of, go on a tour here with Frank Reich, and it's the Eagles all over again kind of deal? Like, I mean, and he has the ability to do it. You don't want Nick Foles for 5 years in a row, but you'll take him for 10 games a season.
Yeah. And Ellinger or Foles may need to save Frank Reich's job, because I can't imagine Jim Irsay is going to stay patient with this team that on paper has a lot of talent, but year in and year out, they just, they always disappoint. So I just thought that was fascinating this week that Matt Ryan has already been, they pulled the plug on him for Indianapolis. So just to go over again, the Raiders will go to New Orleans, they'll go to Jacksonville, they'll play Indianapolis, and then they go to Denver, and then they go to Seattle, and then, more games down the road. But they have 3 or 4 games here that are winnable games on paper. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders turned it around after going 0-3, especially with how this whole NFL has gone. You have more teams that are losing than are winning right now. I thought there'd be so much, competitiveness with how much moves were made in the offseason and how better teams got. And it just doesn't seem like it's translating. It seems like a case in point. So the Matt Ryan. So every quarterback that was traded for this offseason has not played well. Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson. Who am I not thinking of? Carson Wentz. Not doing well with the Commanders. Obviously injured with the
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield not playing well. He's already out with the Panthers. And PJ Walker, got their a win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll talk about that a little later. We haven't seen Deshaun Watson yet, but that's happening in a couple weeks here. It just seems to me that it's just not translating to what we thought it was going to be. And that's football a lot of the times. I think we get caught up now in big moves being made, and that's no one ever wins the offseason. But we always, with how much movement was made this offseason, I thought that we would see some really good teams, and I don't think that's the case. It may have been too much turnover, where so many things were changed. Quarterbacks, offenses changed, head coaches changed, where guys aren't practicing as much as they used to. It's just different with training camp and during the week now, padded practices, what have you. More guys get injured. It's just different. So do you think, I think we talked about this last week, but we talked about more of it being, our offense is not playing well or our defense is doing well. But I'll just flat out ask you, Alon, do you think we're getting good football this season?
No. Yeah. Not without talking about 2 teams. I mean, I think we're getting decent football out of the Bills and the Chiefs, but the teams that you watch for solid execution, the Green Bay Packers. I mean, historically with Aaron Rodgers, I don't. It's just not great.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, which is really weird because you thought if this was going to be the case, right, that it might happen last year with the first time that the season's extended and the first time that coaches have to deal with that, and now how do you manage practice workload and all that kind of stuff. But this year, we've seen fumble, lots of different types of crazy zany things. There might not be a better example of at least defensive breakdown and how football is not that great this year than Kyler Murray's 20-second 2-point conversion against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Just how does that happen? Are you not working hard at it, or is it just you're totally out of sorts, discombobulated? But no, and I hate saying that because it's all the same players for the most part. These guys are all world players. They're the best at what they do. But you just kind of look at the quality of football, and it's 1 week it's great, and then for a few weeks in a row it's not. I do think the other thing real quick is definitely for me, I watch a lot of Thursday Night Football, and I hate myself for doing it, but that definitely is in the front of my mind when I'm thinking about bad football this year. I'm thinking about Thursday Night Football. And so maybe that's clouding my vision a little bit. But
I think it's translating to Sundays too.
So that's the thing. So because I can look at a handful of Sunday games and go, what the hell? I can look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and go, how can you not score?
Yeah.
You're Tampa Bay. Yeah. And I watch Tom Brady play. He's not shot. It's not like Matt Ryan. It's not like he can't throw anymore. It's not like he's not doing what he's supposed to do. They're just not getting it done.
Yeah, Steven's argued with me in the past. Is there ever a bad football game? I say no. I will always watch. No one supports the NFL more than me as far as on the field product. I wait all season long for it, and then when it finally comes here, I'm excited more than anybody. But I got to be honest, the quality of play has quite honestly sucked this season. I don't know what the deal is. It may be all the turnover. It may be the lack of preparation. I don't know what it is, but the quality of play, with the exception of the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, they're all playing well right now. And the Giants are playing well, the Jets are playing well, but it's also kind of a product of them not really playing glamorous football. They get the job done, and we'll talk about their games a little bit more later, but it may also just be that we're shocked that these, the good teams are not playing well right now. Rams, Niners, Packers, Buccaneers, all 3-4, or the Rams are 3-3. But it's just not what we expected, and it may just be the case. I think we're getting a good one tomorrow with the Ravens and Buccaneers, but who knows right now? Offensively, the Bucs can't, do anything. So we'll talk about that game a little bit more. But that's been going through my mind a lot lately, is that we're not getting good quality NFL football on Sundays, and everybody, is expecting high-scoring games, and scoring has been down. I think only a handful of 40-point games have been scored this season, so it's just been weird. It's been weird overall, in my opinion.
And I don't think that lack of scoring or excess of scoring indicates whether a game is good or not.
No, I don't either.
And no, I don't. You're not there either, right, Derek?
No, I'm not. I don't every game doesn't need to be the Rams and Chiefs from 2018. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's just not good quality football. It's not played crisp. It's there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers. It just, the quality of play has not been very good this season. I will admit that honestly.
And so when I look at it, I see a lack of points in certain games, and it's not. I'm never mad at the game that's 21-14 or whatever if it was played the right way and it was entertaining and stuff like that. But it's the fact that, like you said, it's some of these good teams that are supposed good teams that we thought were going to be good, underperform, or we will watch a game. You'll watch a game and you'll see a team with all these opportunities and somehow they just can't capitalize on them. Not because the defense is doing some out of this world stellar job on them, but they're shooting themselves in the foot with sloppy play or all kinds of things like that. And I think the fan watching it, whether in person or on TV or listening to the game, can interact with that and go, yeah, you know what? This wasn't a bad game because it was, 24-21. This was a bad game, and that's a great score. You would think that'd be a good game, right? But this was a bad game because both teams, It's like who wants to win, and they're both very sloppy. It's not crisp. Use the perfect word, Derek. It's not crisp.
Yeah, not the greatest football being played, but one of those teams we talked about, the Chiefs, little whooping on the San Francisco 49ers this weekend, 44-23, and everybody was excited about Christian McCaffrey coming to the Niners, and good on him, man. Gets traded Thursday night, then hops on a plane, wants the playbook sent to him while he's traveling from Charlotte to the Bay Area. Lands Friday morning and puts on his 23 jersey and gets in the practice field, and he's ready to go. And he was limited. He didn't play the full game, didn't have the full playbook. But from what I saw, it's going to be interesting the way that Kyle Shanahan uses Christian McCaffrey. They used him obviously primarily as a running back, but they can use him as a wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see how they split it out in the backfield. They'll have Debo and him in the backfield at times. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle lines him up as a slot receiver, but that should be Jimmy's guy on third down conversions, because we all know Jimmy throwing the ball down the field has struggled this season. As far as the game itself, Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to save them. It was a matter of the Kansas City Chiefs just having a better offense than the Niners have defense. Niners defense is very good. I don't think it's bad whatsoever. I just don't think we live in the day and age now in the NFL where defenses will shut down good offenses. Now, there'll be times where there is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers holding the Chiefs to 9 points in the Super Bowl because both their starting tackles are out, and the pass rush is just too much. I just think that they just got out-schemed. They got out-coached. Not saying that Kyle Shanahan's a bad coach whatsoever, but Andy Reid had those guys prepared way better. And the matchups were perfect. Marquez Valdes-Scantling cooking Mooney Ward on a big 57-yard pass. Patrick Mahomes just dinking and dunking, doing his thing, and throwing it deep. I'm not going to say like he's a dinker-dunker like Alex Smith all the time. And then, the big thing that I've seen everybody bring up, the big thing that I've seen everybody bring up in film when they're breaking stuff down is that they decided to not block Nick Bosa on multiple plays. And that leaves him, free to rush up the field and totally miss, the screen pass or the wide receiver bubble screen. And I saw Emmanuel Acho kind of break it down a little bit where he says that Micah Parsons could be a better player because he sees that he's not blocked and he's able to come back and read the guy that caught the ball and make a tackle quickly, where Nick Bosa just runs up the field and already misses on the guy. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that Nick Bosa is a bad player whatsoever. I just think that the Chiefs looked at the film and saw what he does and what he doesn't do and decided to leave him unblocked, and it worked to their benefit. Also, Jimmy Garoppolo, terrible pass, that interception in the end zone. He had Jeff Wilson Jr. wide open on a Texas route that was going to go, easy touchdown for him. Just with a lot of teams in the NFL right now, like I don't think the 49ers are a bad team whatsoever, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Christian McCaffrey, but at the same time, I don't know how they're going to do against the upper echelon teams. They have no problems being the Rams. We'll see if they beat them again this Sunday. But I don't know how they're going to do against the Buffalo Bills. I don't know how they're going to do against these other good teams that are able to score a lot of points and can get to Jimmy Garoppolo. This is the first time I've seen the Chiefs' defense play really well this season. Sacking Jimmy Garoppolo in the end zone for a safety. In the end, just the Chiefs show that they were a much better team.
Yeah, the Chiefs, look, that first half of the game, after the first half, I went, okay, the Niners kind of had a little bit of an advantage early, and they kind of let the Chiefs back in, but it's basically a tie ball game. It's a 1-point game. And to come out in the second half, I don't think the Niners came out flat. I don't think that was the issue. It was just the pace of the game, the way that the Chiefs are able to just put points and points and points on top of you. And we talked about this last week. Niners aren't built to do that. And I will say this for Niner fans and just in general, I don't think we're going to see a defensive performance that bad. Maybe one other one where they just kind of get blown up like the rest of the season. But I just don't – look, they had one sack on Mahomes that entire game. Yeah, that was it. They recorded like one sack. And the deal with trapping Bosa or letting him through, I mean, there are, and if you watch it, yeah, he is kind of like a blind dog in a meat house sometimes. Like he's just getting upfield, trying to create havoc, all that kind of stuff. Watt for the Steelers will do that at times. He'll just get upfield. And it's interesting what Acho said about Micah Parsons, because I think there's another player, even though he's getting a little long in the tooth, that you can't really scheme him that way. And that probably Khalil Mack, because he sees it so well. Oh, you're going to leave me unblocked? I'm cutting straight down, or I'm realizing what you're trying to set up. Micah Parsons kind of the same thing. But it wasn't because Kyle Shanahan didn't coach correctly or Jimmy Garoppolo is not a premier quarterback. I think they could have had, because some Niner fans are like, wonder what that game would have looked like with Trey Lance. Well, it probably would have, honestly, it probably would have looked worse because Trey Lance is a rookie. And Andy Reid eats rookies up. Like Andy Reid coached teams, they crush rookies. So, this is what I think. I think we got a taste of what McCaffrey can do in that offense. The fact that he's able to show up with, I don't know how many plays he really was able to absorb getting there, but the fact that he's able to show up, be a semi-effective. I mean, he looked great in the receiving game. I think he had a couple of receptions and, both went, he was averaging over 10 yards of reception. A few runs he had were fine. So I think, for instance, you mentioned Jeff Wilson on the Jr. on the Texas route. Imagine Christian McCaffrey going out and doing that.
He will.
Because he will. And guess what? He's going to, Jimmy, like you said, on third down, he's going to annihilate defenses with that kind of route because that's what McCaffrey does. It's totally in his skill set. So I still think the Niners are one of the better teams in the NFL. I still think they can make the playoffs, not with relative ease, but they can do, what they need to do to get there. I think they would have more success, believe it or not, against a team like the Bills, even though some might think the Bills are better than the Chiefs. I just think the Niners are built a little bit better to play against a team like the Bills. And I think the Chiefs are just either you have a team that's specifically built to beat them or you don't. And there's not many. I don't think there is a single team in the NFL that really is specifically built to beat them. Maybe the Bills. That's about it. Excuse me, some people might argue that the Las Vegas Raiders are. Defensively, they're sure as hell not, but they try to outscore you. Right. But I think the Niners still have a bright rest of the season ahead of them. And, I mean, if they lay an egg against the Rams, then you start to go, whoa, what's going on here? And you do have to start pointing some fingers and looking at why are we not as offensively potent as we have been in the past? Because I think that's the one thing that's kind of holding the Niners back right now.
Well, do you think they ever have been offensively potent?
Under this regime with Kyle Shanahan, I do think that they were a team that that they could slam the ball on you, they could run the ball, they could get wide on you, yes. They could put you into horrible spots and have your spacing be all gunked up, and they could run wild on you, and they would score a lot of points, and then their defense would just be on you the whole game. So, yeah, are they a classic air it out kind of offense that would, put points up left and right? No, but they were the kind of team where their momentum and their just sheer will would kind of avalanche and demoralize the opposition, and you get a blowout.
No, definitely, and I think you put it perfectly. They're a run-oriented offense, and they're very similar in the Baltimore Ravens, where they benefit so much from the run that they can accumulate so much points through off-play action and just the way that they run the football, and their defense helps them as well. My thing is that I just don't know how good they're going to be with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'll be perfectly honest. He's a fine quarterback, but whenever a big trade is made, they always do they list the guys on the team. Like ESPN will put their faces on the depth chart, and it'll be Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Who's stopping these guys? And then I'm like, well, yeah, but also Jimmy Garoppolo is their quarterback, and Jimmy's fine. I trust him way more than Trey Lance at this point, and we'll see what happens with the future. But just to expect that they're going to have this high-flying offense, I don't see the case. No, I think that Kyle Shanahan's very capable of scheming it up and being here's the thing. The Giants are winning games because their defense is playing very well, and Saquon Barkley is running the ball very well. Mm-hmm. But they're not winning games because they have a high-flying offense and Remember last year they went out and got Kenny Galladay, and that's supposed to be their big free agent guy. He's barely played. Another guy that's barely played this year is Kadarius Toney.
Yep, Tony, which is a huge, like, he could be a boon for that offense. We don't really know.
Honestly, their number one receiver right now is Darius Slayton and David
Slayton.
Stills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Dable is winning games because he's a great coach and he could scheme it up. He's extremely smart.
And he's bald.
And he is bald, just like you and me. So also I've noticed this season, a lot of teams that are winning, besides the Bills and Chiefs, what are the Eagles? A run-oriented offense. The Giants, run-oriented offense. Jets, run-oriented offense. Defense is caught up with a lot of these pass-happy offenses where I heard Greg Cosell talk about the other day where a lot of teams are playing a lot of high safety, 3 safeties, and taking away big shots down the field. So a lot of teams are going dink and dunk, and we're going back to a lot of old school football mentality of just running it right at these nickel defenses that are not equipped to stop the run. And I think that the Niners are capable of doing that. I just think that their limitations are with their quarterback, and that'd be the case, with Jimmy Garoppolo or even Trey Lance. Sorry, tongue-tied.
No,
let me ask something, Alon. Do you think they make this move for Christian McCaffrey if Trey Lance is playing quarterback and they are currently struggling with him right now? They're 1-5.
No, I think Christian McCaffrey, that kind of move that's a move that signals that they think, okay, this Garoppolo, they're all in. This Garoppolo thing's over soon, so we got to win with him now if we're going to win with him at all.
Okay, so let me ask something in that same vein. If they're 1-5 with Trey Lance and they have this team that they think is Super Bowl ready to go, would they bench Trey Lance for Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
You don't think so?
It'd have to get really bad because I think that ownership group thinks that Trey Lance is the future and they want him to be the future so bad that it would have 1-5. That would be about the brink of it. And if they lost another game, I think Jimmy Garoppolo would come in. Yeah.
Well, here's my thing. They don't make this move for Christian McCaffrey unless they think they're winning the Super Bowl. Now, this is a long-term thing. This isn't a rental, like Kyle Shanahan said.
Mm-mm.
This is he is their star running back for the future, and this is something Kyle's always wanted. Like the Shanahans, Mike, he had Terrell Davis, he had Mike Anderson, Alandis Gary, Tatum Bell,
Willis McGahee.
Yep. Did he have Willis McGahee?
No, did he? No, I don't know.
I'm just saying a bunch of no names.
A bunch of no names. Yeah, Tatum Bell.
Tatum Bell.
God.
Later became Tatum Bellhop because he was stealing people's luggage. Remember that? Like Rudy Johnson.
I didn't know that. Tatum Bellhop. That's great.
Yeah, I remember Detroit Lions got Rudy Johnson, the old Bengals running back, one season, and because Tatum Bell was so upset that Rudy Johnson took his job, he stole his luggage. It became Tatum Bellhop.
Okay.
Anyway, so Kyle Shanahan, just like his father, is able to get the best out of average running backs because he's able to scheme it up offensively with the run game. But you always wonder what would his offense be if he had a great running back, and now he has one in Christian McCaffrey. There's always been rumors about Saquon Barkley, and now they got Christian McCaffrey. Now, but this move also says to me that they want to win now. And this is the whole reason why they brought Jimmy Garoppolo back to back up Trey Lance, because to me, they weren't going to substitute a season. I know a lot of Niner fans, like, we got to, get the best of Trey Lance, and we got to, we got to groom him, and we got to give him a season, just like the Bears are doing right now with Justin Fields. But this move to me says that they were going to give a lot of room for Trey Lance to grow. They started him in the Chicago game. They started him in the Seahawks game. And to me, if he was struggling and they have this, what they think is a great defense, and their defense is good. They just had a bad showing against the Chiefs. But if they think that this team is good, and Kyle Shanahan's been on record saying, I believe in this team, and John Lynch has said that too. So I think the hesitancy to fully be on board with Trey Lance, and they've said the right things. Trey Lance started the season. But they brought Jimmy Garoppolo back. I would have. Now looking at this move with Christian McCaffrey, I think that they would have eventually benched Trey Lance and gone to Jimmy Garoppolo because they see the short window. They know that Trey Lance is the future, but this thing is going to last forever. As good as their
Yeah.
defense is and the skill position players they have, and let's be honest, they feel probably more comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback than Trey Lance.
I've always thought that was the case. Even when they started him this year, Lance, and I went, well, this is very fascinating because you just went through this Garoppolo saga, and then they were able to retain him, and he's relatively cheap for you. So the fact that you go to Lance first, and maybe that's just to see if hey, we might be cooking with gas here right off the get go. Obviously, that's not how it went, and yeah, I think Garoppolo gives them the best chance for that window because we know he can get them to a certain point. We know he can get them he can help that team get all the way to a Super Bowl. And I think the philosophy with the ownership group as well as the front office and Kyle Shanahan is okay. Let's just how many more okay, maybe one more piece. If we get one more piece or two more pieces, and that will really finally, he'll have everything he needs. It'll be tailor made for him, and we can go win a Super Bowl. So I agree. It's an all in move. That being said, when Trey Lance eventually is a starter, he's going to have some pretty nice tools to work with McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel being signed, and George Kittle's there. And, it's not going to be like, oh, no, a reboot or anything. It's just going to be, all right, let's try to get better now in a new era. But for Jimmy Garoppolo, you'd think this is his last dance with the Niners. Never say never, but it looks like it is, and this might be his best chance.
No clue, honestly. You got to see what the injury is with Trey Lance in the offseason, so that'll be a whole nother thing we got to talk about. But yeah, I understand Niners fans' frustration because they have the team, they just lack the quarterback. And not to say that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't a great quarterback or not a good quarterback, he just isn't an elite quarterback. The quarterback that they want to see, like Matthew Stafford a year ago.
Matthew Stafford for a year, but Garoppolo's he's a winning quarterback, and he's a quarterback you can win with at times.
No, I understand that, but just as far as
fans don't want to hear that though.
No, and I get that, but at the same time, you want to a lot of guys wanted Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. You would have more faith in Derek Carr at this point over Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. They just you wonder if he has enough to make them go over. Obviously the Niners even feel that way. There's a reason why they went after Trey Lance, and there's been so much made in the past week about Matthew Stafford saying that he thought he was going to San Francisco, and yeah, he says that, but he in the end chose the Rams over the Niners.
Yeah, weird thing to think something and then do something else when you can make the decision.
Exactly. So that's the one thing that I think. Niner fans, I'm being a dead horse here. This is something they've said all along, that this is what will hold them back, and we'll see what happens. Christian McCaffrey could be the difference maker this season, but I will say this: it was good on the Niners to get Christian McCaffrey over the Rams because those were the two teams that were reported to be in the mix for Christian McCaffrey. And this is the first time they've been able to do that. In the past, the Niners, I've said this before, but this whole thing of getting Trey Lance and wanting to upgrade the quarterback position stems from Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. You could say what you want about Matthew Stafford currently, not being a good quarterback. He's fresh off a Super Bowl win. With a good offensive line, the Rams are a better team. I just think that he's running for his life right now because he has to throw to Cooper Kupp every play because he's scared as hell because the pass rush is coming so quickly to him. Now, if Christian McCaffrey was there, that's another guy you can check it down to. But yeah, so in the end, the Niners make the offer of a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick in 2023, and a fifth-round pick in 2024, where the Rams, I believe, I had it here somewhere, but their offer was essentially 2 second-round picks, I think 2 fourth-round picks. It depends on what the years were, and then we're going to throw in Cam Akers to the Panthers. You can debate which deal is better. I think the Niners had more picks for next season as opposed to the Rams. But then you throw in a player like Cam Akers, and that's interesting that the Panthers passed on that. My thinking is, though, that the Panthers didn't necessarily pass on it. It was just in the end, Christian McCaffrey wanted to go to the Niners because he knows Kyle from his dad, Mike, and Ed was coached by Mike. That's pretty cool in itself. A second generation of coach and player, being meeting each other again with a coach and player with their sons, doing the same thing. So very interesting. We'll see where it goes. I think that the Niners are fine, but yeah, just see what they're limited with quarterback wise. But let's go through some of these scores from week 7. Don't have to go through every game here, but just some interesting outcomes. Baltimore Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns 23-20, and the Browns are not doing too well. 2-5 record right now. Ravens at 4-3, and we'll see them Thursday night. We'll get that pick for it in a little bit here. What else happened on week 7? So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose to the Carolina Panthers. This is a classic game where the coach gets fired and he rallies the troops and they play inspired football. But the fact that the Buccaneers lost the Panthers, just oof. That offense is putrid right now. You don't know who to blame, really. It's not really, Byron Leftwich has been given the keys to the whole offense with Tom Brady right now, and there's just a lot of old guys on that team. Tom Brady, obviously. The offensive line is beat up. The running game is not very good. Their skill position guys, Mike Evans drops that wide open pass off his fingertips, and then later signs an autograph for a ref. That wasn't the case, actually. He was just getting golf suggestions or whatever the hell it was.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Chris Godwin, fresh off an ACL tear. Julio Jones, not the same guy anymore. He doesn't even play for them.
Scotty Miller not playing well for that team, and he had played well for them for a little while.
And I don't buy into the whole thing of Tom Brady's got things off the field that he's dealing with right now. It's just the fact that this team is not very good.
Yeah, the team is old. That's what it is. And that doesn't mean that they can't get it together and go on a run. It's a very long season. They're obviously they have a handful of wins. They're 3-4. But I think what's fascinating about this game is I thought Carolina would have the game that they had this past Sunday, the week before, fresh off the firing, right? Maybe that was a little too fresh. Yeah, against the Rams. And I thought the Rams may be a better opponent for that as well. Clearly not the case. They push that off by a week, and they do it against the Bucs. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's not like panic time or time to go crazy if you're a Buccaneers supporter or you're really expecting something big out of them. But what I do think you have to look at is really the lack of production out of their running game and the fact that their role-playing receivers are not doing what they had the first couple of years that Tom was there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I point out, Scotty Miller and, Russell Gage is okay, and they have Kyle Rudolph, but Kyle Rudolph, how old is he now? Like all these guys, it's like, and it's not a retirement home, but it's like all right, let's try to hang out with Tom and get a ring here home. And that's what it is. And sometimes it works, and it's not, I think Tom's just fine. He's probably the same he was last year, but the rest of the team isn't.
No. Another team that's not doing well right now that we expect it to be better. The Green Bay Packers lose 23-21 to the Washington Commanders. They had an early lead in that game, but then things flip, and their offense is kind of in the same struggle right now as the Buccaneers. Aaron Rodgers mouthing, "What the fuck are we doing?" He doesn't trust his rookie wide receivers, and that's really on the Packers, honestly, for not trying. I mean, they're trying to get a wide receiver now before the trade deadline, but relying on Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and
Sammy Watkins.
Watkins, who's a fine player, but not the same player he used to be. Randall Cobb is hurt. They're, the only guys that Aaron Rodgers really relies on is Aaron Jones to throw to, and that's a running back. The running game is not very good right now. They're just out of sorts, and David Bakhtiari's in and out of the lineup every week. They're kind of in the same boat as the Buccaneers. It's not so much that the quarterback play is not very good. It hasn't been great. I mean, I'm not going to, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers aren't lighting it up, and it may have to do with them getting up in age as well, but they're just not clicking. And I think it's more self-inflicted because of the Packers, because they, traded away Devontae Adams, and they didn't really do anything to upgrade the wide receiver position. They thought they'd be fine with just a bunch of rookies and veterans in their 30s, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not going well for the Packers right now, and they have to go to Buffalo this week. And Aaron Rodgers had a funny response this week where they asked him, "What do you think this team will make the playoffs?" And he said, "I think this is good for us to go to Buffalo. We're obviously gonna get our ass kicked," and he's joking, obviously, but
Mhm.
it's good. It's good to put us on display for the whole league to see, and hopefully that will motivate us. Sometimes it does, sometimes it won't. I think that's hard to say against the Buffalo Bills, who are arguably the best team at football, next to the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Um, so yeah, just Buccaneers, Packers underperforming like we didn't expect.
The Bills are good. This good Bills team is good enough to beat a good Packers team, and the
Yeah.
Packers are not good right now. So I mean, it's kind of scary. But I mean, so I watched that game. I watched it back, and the thing about it, so Green Bay's up 14 to 10 and a half or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so this is kind of the time where Aaron Rodgers and the rest of them, but the running game hasn't been there. But you look at the stat sheet and you watch the damn game, and you go, you ran the ball 12 times with your running backs. You had a lead at one point. You ran the ball 12 times. I know you have Aaron Rodgers. Run the freaking ball. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
and I know you. It's very frustrating.
I don't mean to cut you off either, Alon, but
No.
that's something I noticed the last couple of weeks too, is their losses, especially the loss to the Giants.
The Giants.
They had that lead 17-3, and then they decided to not run the football anymore.
Yeah.
Or ever, to be honest.
Or ever.
Yeah, they have two solid running backs, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Don't know what they're doing. Just to run through the other games that are that happened this past week. A team that seems to be clicking now is the Cincinnati Bengals with their passing offense. Joe Burrow throws for 400 yards against the Atlanta Falcons, and they win 35-17. A game that I was kind of surprised by. I was kind of expecting the Detroit Lions to have a little more fight than they have this season. They had a great showing against the Eagles week 1. They lost that game, but they still scored 35 points. And then they score a lot of points against the Commanders, win that game. They're only one of the season. And then they score, a shit ton of points against the Seahawks and lose that game. But yeah, I expected the Detroit Lions to come off a bye and play a lot better. And Dak Prescott's first game coming back from his injury. In the end, the Cowboys prevail 24-6. But I thought the Lions were going to be a lot better this season, and they're just reverting back to the old Lions. Giants win their game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a hard-fought game, close game, but the Giants just don't make a lot of mistakes right now. They're playing old-school football, and Brian Dable scheming it up, so they win that game 23-17 to have a 6-1 record. That's extremely surprising. Brian Dable, early candidate along with Robert Saleh for head coach of the year. Then you get the Tennessee Titans sweeping the Colts once again, 19-10, and we've been through this already with Matt Ryan. They're pulling the plug already on him, and it's just a matter of, the Tennessee Titans just have a good defense. They run the ball with Derrick Henry, and they just know how to beat up on the Colts right now. So they look like they're in the driver's seat for the AFC South. Russell Wilson does not get the start against the Jets. He doesn't play. He is hurt with that hamstring injury, so they sit him for a game, and Brett Rippon starts that game, and just a matter of the Jets just being the better team right now. Better defense, better running game. Breece Hall had a great run for a touchdown before he tore his ACL, and that's sad that we won't see him the rest of the season. Was an early candidate for Rookie of the Year, and the Jets. Do you buy them in the Giants right now? Or are they just benefiting from the fact that they're playing the right teams at the right moment? Do you think they're actually good football teams?
Yeah, I do. Their rosters might not be amazing, but I can't sit here with a straight face and tell you they're bad teams, because they're not. They're winning. They're doing what they need to do to win. And last I checked, to be a good team, you got to win football games. And the Giants and Jets, they're doing it.
That's fair.
I think the Giants are slightly better.
No,
I will say that.
I agree, and I just want to see a little more of them, because I'm not completely sold on them, but they've done enough. They got solid defenses, and their offenses are not spectacular, but they know how to run the ball. So they're doing the right things right now. Seattle is surprising to me, very surprising. So they go into LA and beat the Chargers 37-23. And Geno Smith is just lighting it up. They're running very well with Kenneth Walker. They got DK Metcalf. They got Tyler Lockett. And it's just Pete Carroll. I mean, he's another guy that's in the conversation for Coach of the Year, just to be like, all right, Russ, you want to go? Sure. You can leave, and we'll do the same thing without you. And
Yeah.
it may just be, I'm not ready to say this yet, but the more I watch the Seahawks and Russell Wilson in Denver, could it be that Russell Wilson was just a product of the system in Seattle? I don't even know what that means because they ran through so many OCs that there's never been an OC linked to the Seahawks. But or they just, the way they scheme it up is just so beneficial for the quarterback. It's easy for them. And this is a better offensive line than Russell Wilson's ever had in Seattle. So I'm sure he's like, what the hell? But
Yeah.
I'm surprised what the Seahawks are doing. I don't know if it will last. But for them to go into LA and beat the Charger team that we thought was going to be better, they look like the same team a year ago.
They do, don't they?
losing to bad teams at home. They got a shit ton of injuries. Like it's ridiculous how many injuries they got. Keenan Allen plays and then doesn't play. J.C. Jackson took that huge contract, and he was not playing well to begin with. They had to bench him at times. And another guy, Belichick, who knows, like, all right, you want to go J.C. Jackson? Go ahead. Go find a huge deal with the Chargers, and we'll find somebody else to fill your spot. And sure enough, J.C. Jackson, sad. What I forget what the exact injury was, but he's out for the season.
He's out for the season. Yeah.
Yeah. So very sad to hear about J.C. Jackson. The Chargers just have injuries all over the place, and I'm not even sure that. I mean, Mike Williams is going to be gone a couple weeks now, so you got to think that they're in the market for a wide receiver or something. But Justin Herbert doesn't look very good right now. I think it's more because his ribs haven't fully healed, and he's playing on broken ribs.
Yeah.
So, and just another team that's disappointed this season. I can admit now that I'm not as diehard as a Raider fan anymore. I like watching the Chargers play. I like Justin Herbert, but they have really disappointed so far this season. They're not under 500 yet, but from their showing a week ago against the Broncos, where they barely won that game, to now losing at home to Seattle Seahawks, same team a year ago, and I would not be the least bit surprised if Brandon Staley does not survive by the end of the season and they try to upgrade with like a Sean Payton or somebody.
He was on thin ice, in my opinion, going into this season. Like, he had to get this done. And I thought they fired a decent coach to get him in Anthony Lynn.
Yeah.
And I never felt good about that. I was like, man, I think Lynn's actually a guy for the job, at least for now. Not that there's not better coaches than him, but I don't see Brandon Staley as this huge revelation or anything like that.
No.
But, instead of talking about the losing team, the Chargers, who have all these problems with them right now, health-wise, I mean, yeah, credit to the Seahawks. Pete Carroll, he's a Hall of Famer for sure. Football, if there was one big football Hall of Fame for the entire sport, it'd be a no-brainer for what he's done. He's a great coach, and he's got his hands on both sides of the ball. And, Russell Wilson's a great player, but, yeah, I mean, Geno Smith right now, hey, this is something that no one's ever said before, but we can say it now. Geno Smith's playing like a first-round draft pick. So he's living up to his draft status. It just took about 9 years.
But he wasn't a first-round draft pick.
Oh, was he second?
Do you remember on draft night he thought he was going to
Oh, he did. So that's why no one's ever said that, because he wasn't drafted in the first round. But he's playing like a second-round draft pick is what I meant to say. But no, he's playing. I do remember that now. But he's playing.
Nice catch there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. He's playing excellently. I think his QBR is like through the roof. His rating is very good. And Seattle is playing their asses off. They're a very good team. And the Chargers, for some reason, are like, and I don't think Seattle's a world beater either. I don't think they're like, I kind of lump them in there with the Giants, Jets. I think they're better than those teams because
really? Okay.
I think they're a little more dynamic. I think both of those teams don't have the playmakers I think that Seattle has the potential to have. They don't attack you down the field the way Seattle does.
No, I agree with you.
But anyway, Seattle's really good, and I was surprised. That was the game where I was like, okay, Chargers are going to get right, and they're better roster all the way than Seattle. Nope, they just got out-coached and outplayed.
Yep, they totally did. The other outcomes this week, the Miami Dolphins celebrate the 50th anniversary of the undefeated 72 Dolphins, and they host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, and then Tua comes back, and I got to be honest. Every time Tua takes a hit or lowers his helmet, we don't need to be like, oh, is he going to be
Yeah.
okay and everything. He's playing football, guys. We got to move on. I understand what happened a couple weeks ago was bad and terrible, but this is what he's doing now. He's playing quarterback, and if everyone has signed off on him to play, then he's going to go play, and you got to let the guy have his say in it too. So I'm kind of tired of everybody being like, oh my God, is Tua okay? Should it be more weeks he's off? No, this is what they decided. Let's move on. As far as the game itself, Tua, a lot of quick passes. The offense is good for him right now with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And they're incorporating Raheem Mostert more in that offense. Mike Gesicki too, even though there's trade rumors with him. But they score on the first drive, then they kind of go slow after that. A lot of coaches are doing weird things. Mike McDaniel had a chance to take that lead up to 19-10 and decided to go for it, and they were up by 6, where the Steelers could have easily taken the lead in that game. It was more of a product of them losing because Kenny Pickett just kind of forced passes that were picked off. If they had a better quarterback in that situation right there, or an experienced quarterback, the Steelers probably win that game. But not a very great Sunday Night Football game. Obviously, they're there because they got to celebrate the 72 Dolphins. But Dolphins 4-3. Interested to see where they go too. And Steelers, this is kind of a feeling out process with Kenny Pickett, even though they got a great defense.
I do love Mike McDaniel as the coach of.
No, he's fun.
He is. I mean, he was a blast when he was the coordinator, and now that he's got his own head coaching gig, it's hilarious to watch. And he is fun. And Tyreek Hill, man, he's really getting a hell of a workout over there in Miami. I mean, they are using him to his, not so much this past game, but they really are using him to his fullest extent and what he can do. And that's great. You get a guy and you use him the way you're supposed to. So they're good. Kenny Pickett. I remember being there on draft day when he got drafted, and I was just like, man, yeah, I guess they're going with Kenny Pickett. This is what they want to do. Not that there were like a whole bunch of better options than Kenny Pickett, and he was a darn good college football player, but it's going to take time for Pickett, and they don't have at least they have the running back in place. I will say that, and I think they have a receiver in Claypool who could be one of the best in the NFL. If he did things, if he was
him or George Pickens.
Pickens, I like Pickens too, but like I think Claypool can, if he could figure out to do things after the predetermined play kind of breaks down, he could be all world, and he's just not there yet. And I think Najee Harris is very good.
Well, we'll see if Claypool's on the roster because his name has been thrown out there for trade rumors as well.
I don't get real quick sidebar about this. I don't understand why Gesicki's name has been floating around. I don't really get why Waller's name has been floating around. I guess I can kind of understand Claypool's, but it's at the same time like Waller's. There are articles about that, and I'm like, he just signed a contract extension. That's very hard to trade for a guy like that.
I'm not buying that one. Gesicki makes sense because of the franchise tag that he
does.
Yeah. And he wants to get paid.
Claypool's still on his rookie contract, so
yeah. But they're Mike Tomlin was kind of fed up with his act a year ago with the whole
at the
TikToking and celebrating before the first down that cost him the game against Minnesota.
Yep.
We'll talk about more of the trade deadline rumors, but before we do that, just one more game on the docket that we got to react to. I didn't see this coming. Chicago Bears go into New England and lay a whooping on the Patriots. Justin Fields starts throwing the football, and they win 33-14. And they set that game up on Monday Night Football because Bears playing the Patriots. Belichick was one win away from tying George Halas, and it doesn't happen. And they started the game with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, doesn't play very well, but not enough for me, in my opinion, to get benched for Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi's been playing pretty damn good. But then things came back to reality in the second half where it went from, Bailey Zappi, he's the next Tom Brady. They'd be like, Bailey Zappi, he's backup
quarterback.
He's Bailey Zappi. So Mac Jones has already been named the starter going forward. I don't think it was a thing of Belichick reacting. I mean, if you think Belichick is giving into the crowd, you must be out of your fucking mind. He did that
Yeah.
because he just wanted to get a spark on his team. And yeah, good on the Bears to win that game. They are 3-4 and right in the mix with the Green Bay Packers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers and San Francisco 49ers. It's insane to me. Like a lot of teams that feel like they're trying to not tank but prepare for the future, and yet they're still winning games. So that was the most surprising thing to me. Like especially when I'm doing my pick'em league, and Alon, I got 5 fucking games right this week. 5. Usually I get
5
like
out of
whatever it was this week.
over 10.
Yeah. And usually
16.
I'm pretty good for like 10 wins at least. I was like number 5 in the pick'em league that I'm in at KNBR, and I dropped all the way down to like 19 because I got 5 right. And this one killed me because usually when you do the pick'em leagues on CBSSports.com, you do the your point total and a tiebreaker for Monday Night Football games. I thought the total was going to be 30 because I didn't think the Bears offense was going to do anything, especially with the Justin Fields playing against Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
I gave it 30 points, and sure enough, the Bears scored 33. I was shocked by that outcome.
So I had 3 tickets written this week for the NFL. Obviously, I had the Raiders. covering against the Texans.
Do you always have the Raiders?
No.
Okay.
I bet against the Raiders. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Okay.
But against the AFC South, generally the Colts are pretty profitable, and the Titans too. But not against the Texans. Derek Carr actually still has a losing record against the Texans. I had the Broncos to beat the Jets. Covering that didn't happen. So it was 1-1.
I had that too.
I had a money line ticket on the Chicago Bears to beat the Patriots.
Now, why did you think that was going to happen?
I just thought I didn't know who was going to play quarterback really for the Patriots, and if Bailey, I figured I kept seeing the tweets, Zappy hour is over. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. Zappy hour is close to being over. There's no way this backup quarterback, if he has to play extended time, is going to win another. Like, it's just not going to happen. And not just that, I'm a fan of Justin Fields. I think CJ Stroud has a chance to be better than him, but I really like Justin Fields a lot. I think he can do a lot with his arm and his legs. And but I didn't think it would be like that. I thought it was going to be like 18-15 or so. Yeah, something stupid like this, some really low scoring game. And the fact when the Patriots started getting all that momentum, and I was like, oh, well, there goes that ticket. I'm getting ready. Just lost money there. And then the Bears just storm back and just crush them. And it's very weird to watch a Patriots team, especially after last year's Patriots team and how well they did with a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones and winning, I think, 10 games. It's very hard to watch a Patriots team not have answers because we all know Bill Belichick's such a good coach. And the last time we saw them play games where they really didn't have answers was when Cam Newton was their quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's still weird, I think, for the NFL fan base to watch, where we watch this team, we're expecting them to win or to be very good. And they get into a game and then, momentum gets taken from them or the game gets taken to them. And then they just don't have a counter for it. And it's interesting. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good, but it's very interesting to watch.
It is interesting to watch. Interesting to see what's going to happen also this Tuesday. So we got the games this weekend, but after that, quick turnaround, after the Monday night game is the trade deadline. And I've already been kind of surprised by some of these moves. So we talk about the Bears. They're 3-4. And a guy that I've always been thinking was going to get traded at the deadline to the Rams in a similar fashion with Von Miller a year ago was going to be Robert Quinn. Now, I was shocked today when I opened my phone and saw that Robert Quinn was being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles because the Eagles already have a pretty good defensive line. They've got Brandon Graham. They've got Fletcher Cox. They added Hassan Reddick in the offseason as kind of a hybrid outside linebacker / defensive end. They drafted Jordan Davis from Georgia. They got Josh Sweat. And now they go get Robert Quinn as well. And it's interesting to me. So he goes for a 4th-round pick. And you hear all the rumors that the Rams want to upgrade. They want to get a pass rusher too in a similar fashion like the deal with for Von Miller a year ago. So I thought this was going to be a match made in heaven. He was a Ram at one point. and the Eagles snatch him up, and they are more of an all-in team than I've seen than any team this season. Like they're trying to be the Rams from a year ago.
Yeah, there's no one close to them.
Exactly. Like they go out and get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They go get A.J. Brown. They go get James Bradbury. Now they make this move to go get, and they get Hassan Reddick, and they go get Robert Quinn, and they are still the lone undefeated team in the NFL right now. And the interesting part is that the Bears are picking up most of his salary this season. And I thought that'd be a move that the Rams would make, but there's also rumors that the Rams want better guys like Bradley Chubb. Or Brian Burns, who already has, the rumor is that the Panthers want 2 first-round picks for him, and they've already turned down a team for that offer, which I'm not buying for a second. It would have to be like we offered you 2025 first-round draft picks, and they said no.
Yeah.
There's no chance in hell that they turn down 2 first-round draft picks for Brian Burns. Brian Burns is a good pass rusher, but you would take that deal. So yeah, I was surprised by the Robert Quinn move today. You're hearing a lot of names: Mike Gesicki, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, Kareem Hunt. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days here. With the Browns being 2-5, and obviously, Nick Chubb being the main guy in that offense. I'm not gonna say they don't need Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, but they also have a good running back behind him, and D'Ernest Johnson. I could see them moving on for Kareem Hunt, and a team that I would see picking him up is the Rams, because they need help. They want to get rid of Cam Akers fast. I gotta believe that the Rams are trying to make a move before this Sunday's game against the Niners. With something like it could be that they go in off the bye week and they feel good with getting Vance Jefferson back and a lot of guys off injury, but I think something's up with the Rams. They're probably going to make another huge move the next couple of days here or after the game on Sunday against the Niners. And Packers looking for a wide receiver too. When you said Chase Claypool, that's a name I've heard a lot, along with Brandon Cooks. I think the Packers are trying to get a veteran guy so Aaron Rodgers can stop bitching to Pat McAfee on his interviews on Tuesday. This may be the most active, actually, I'm not going to say that, because every year we say that this is going to be an active trade deadline, and it's just different than the MLB trade deadline or the NBA, where guys are able just to fit in and get back in the system and everything. You don't see a lot of trades done at the trade deadline for the NFL, but it could be the case. No clue. Every year I'm disappointed because names are mentioned and then they don't get traded. It's just hard to come up with that compensation during the season. Do you want to trade future draft picks? Player swaps during the season? That's very rare, but it's always hyped up. Schefter, Rappaport, all these guys are gearing up for trade deadline, and in the end, nothing happens. It could be big this season. It could not be. I'm just not getting my hopes up. At the same time, I kind of am.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of what I like about this is there's a lot of youngish or mid-age-ish to younger players who could be made available this trade deadline this time around this season. Another one with the Bears that I've been thinking about for a little bit has been Roquan Smith.
Yep.
And I kind of, a lot of everything's usually focused on the offensive end in terms of acquiring players, and just because offense is flashy. But Robert Quinn's gone, and it's like that's one of those teams.
He cried today. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. He cried?
Roquan Smith was doing an interview, and then they go, by the way, did you just hear Robert Quinn was traded? And he goes, oh, damn. And then they asked him, what'd you think about Robert Quinn as a team? And he goes, oh, man, don't make me do this right now. And he started.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's rough. But like you said earlier, we have these teams that are trying to kind of reset, kind of plan for the future, but then they're kind of also winning. So you can put the Bears into that category. And, they get, a guy like Roquan Smith could be gone, and he could help a lot of teams. He could help the Rams in a lot of ways, counter a guy like Christian. Not that he can stay step for step with the Christian McCaffrey, but he could help them. I mean, imagine having a linebacking core of him and Bobby Wagner.
Yeah,
I mean that could be very good. But there's guys all over the league that like Brandon Cooks is probably going to go somewhere. That'll probably happen.
Packers would be an ideal fit for him.
Packers are, because they need a receiver who can. I think the one guy that out of all the different players that could be moved, the one guy that where I go, well, the most logical or best. It's unfortunate, but Kareem Hunt, and you mentioned Kareem Hunt earlier, because this Nick Chubb's, that's his place, and he's got the throne there, and that's totally his job. Kareem Hunt is like the best number 2 in the league, and he can be a number 1 in just about anywhere else. And the problem for Cleveland, though, in that case, is everyone knows that. So they're not able to squeeze a whole ton of value out of him by trading him. They're not going to. So let's just say they will want a third. They're definitely going to get a fourth. Or if they want a fourth, they're going to get a fifth. Or
I heard that's their asking price is a 4th round pick.
It's a 4th round pick. So they might end up with a 5th and something deferred. But yeah, I'm excited for the trade deadline. I think a lot of teams are going to get better. I do think that I hate it. I hate watching Carolina just totally dismantle themselves when I don't really think they have to so much. But that's kind of a different story. The one thing real quick about Robert Quinn to the Eagles, and the Eagles are scary. They're very scary, and they're very good. And they're the best team in the league record-wise. But some part of me wonders if they look at the modicum of success that the Washington Commanders have had over the years. And I say modicum because they have not been good. But the reason they have ever been competitive or won games is because of how vaunted their defensive front had been, their defensive line. And I wonder if for a while that ownership group and everybody there was just like, you know what, where's our 5 or 4 or 5 studs on the defensive front who are going to go just absolutely ransack the offensive backfield, and that's what they have now. I mean, that's going to be a very tough team for teams, and I'd love to see a matchup between them and pick your primetime premier offense. It'd be very, very cool to watch. You have a running team that is run-centric with just a huge pass rush now, and they can stop the run. And, what would that look like against one of these high-flying offenses?
Well, think back to when they won the Super Bowl. They had a great defensive line with Chris Long, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett. And Fletcher Cox was there too. Malik Jackson. I think he was there. Maybe he was there a year later, but regardless. And the reason that the Rams won the Super Bowl a year ago was because, honestly, the move for Odell was huge, but getting Von Miller. So this is basically, I think, the same thing of getting more pass rush for Robert Quinn. You can never have enough pass rush on a football team. So it's a huge move for the Eagles there. But we'll see if all these rumors and trades actually come to fruition come next Tuesday.
I was going to say, Derek, real quick, if there was one that you think is most likely to happen, can be a layup answer like Kareem Hunt or something. If there's
Kareem Hunt to the Rams, I think that they want to, with how eager they were to get Christian McCaffrey, I would not be the least bit surprised if Kareem Hunt is a Ram before Sunday's game. Yeah, that's the move that I think is going to be made. I think Kareem Hunt will probably be a Los Angeles Ram.
Good for Kareem Hunt. He can go live in LA, not Cleveland.
There you go. Before we get out of here, few things. Real quick, World Series is coming up. Phillies and Astros. Astros undefeated in these MLB playoffs, and Phillies on a great run, being the first 7th seed and only 7th seed to ever make the World Series as they expanded the playoffs. 6th seed. My bad. That's I'm thinking of NFL. 6th seed. So, just real quick, Alon, your predictions for the World Series. Who you got winning?
So I had the Astros making to the World Series. Padres, who I also had, got bounced by the Phillies. And in that theoretical matchup, I actually thought the Padres had enough star power to kind of carry them through it against the Astros. This is a little different because the Astros are a much more balanced team than the Phillies are. The Phillies kind of tried this grand experiment this year where they went all in on offense. They didn't give 2 hoots about defense, pitching, none of that stuff. But it's worked. They got into the World Series. You know what? I think the big bats come out for the Phillies and they win it all. I don't think the Astros get their second championship with this group of guys.
I think they do. I think it's going to be maybe a 5-game series, and I see Dusty finally getting that ring, and he may be able to settle off in the sunset after this.
it pains me to say it too because I do want Dusty. Dusty has coached some great teams and he's
Yeah.
had some great opportunities. He hasn't gotten that ring. If he gets it, it'd be really cool for him. But
Yeah.
I, for some reason, I think the Phillies have the
I
stuff
still
to
feel-
beat a team like the Astros.
I still just don't think they're that very good.
They're not, but they can score a boatload of runs. That's the amazing thing about them.
Well, that's their thing is they have Bryce Harper and Castellanos and big names, but at the same time, like their bullpen's not very good.
Nope.
Pitching's okay. Yeah, I see the Astros are a better team. They should beat the Phillies, but I also that's how it goes in baseball. Sometimes the best team doesn't win. Like Dodgers, year after year after year, try to go big, and then they win the one World Series that was 60 games, but.
Look at the Yankees and the Dodgers this year.
Exactly.
The two best teams in the league do not win.
How fitting is it that Aaron Judge is the last guy at bat and can't get it done for the Astros? Or sorry, for the Yankees against
the Yankees. He had a horrendous playoffs.
He did.
And I felt for him.
He's gonna get paid a shit ton of money.
He is, and he deserves it. I mean, he definitely deserves
might be a giant when it's all said and done.
Well, we kind of were joking about that last time I was on, but God, if that really happens, I might just wear a bag over my head as an Oakland A's fan. I'll be like, whatever, we're never getting anybody.
No, not happening. Before we pick the Thursday night game with the Ravens and Buccaneers, and I think that's despite the records and how bad the Bucs have been playing, that's a game we're all going to watch. With in the weeks past, everybody's like, oh, Commanders, Bears. Everyone's going to watch Lamar Jackson versus Tom Brady.
Yeah, no. That's a premier matchup. You got Tom Brady, and
I don't think we've had it before when the Ravens have played the Patriots, but yeah, this is actually a good Thursday night football game in my opinion. Before we get out of here, and pick that game, Warriors little defensive struggles right now, giving up 120 plus points 3 last games. I'm not worried. Anyone that's watched regular season basketball for the Warriors right now, if you get freaked out over 4 games, chill the fuck out, okay?
Yeah.
This shit happens all the time. The reality is, no one's trying to the fullest capabilities right now.
No, they're not.
In my opinion. So they score a shit ton of points. I know the stuff with Klay Thompson. He's not playing great right now. I'm not going to freak out. I thought that last night was a little weird. His first ever ejection, and he... Like I was telling you before the podcast today, he was upset with Jaren Jackson Jr. tweeting about the Grizzlies, and he made a point to bring that up. And when they won the NBA Finals, and he said he's a bum, freaking bum. And then last night, when Devin Booker talked shit to him, he's like, dude, who are you to talk shit to me? I'm Klay Thompson. I've won 4 championships. It's one thing. I mean, I get it, Klay. Like, yeah, you're Klay Thompson. You're the man. You've won 4 championships. But guys are entitled to talk shit to you when you're playing a game of the regular season. You can't just go fall back on the 4 championships all the time.
Not every time. No.
And Klay is not playing great right now, and we'll see about his future. He was upset with, a report from Connor Letourneau, or a report or whatever it was. He mentioned it on a KNBR show where he thinks that maybe he may retire soon. That's not happening. He's just frustrated right now, I think, with how long he's missed basketball. And he came back and won a championship again, but he's still not all the way there. And I'm sure that's extremely frustrating for him, and that's what happened last night.
I don't know if Klay will ever get the agility, that quick cut burst, if he'll ever get that back again. Not saying it can't happen. It totally could. Maybe it just it's going to take longer. But one thing that Klay can do, and definitely can still do, is shoot. He's just got to get in rhythm. He can get a little bit bigger. He's already got a pretty good frame, and he can develop more of a physical game offensively, things like that. And when he was younger, we used to see him take a lot more fadeaway jump shots and things like that when Mark Jackson was first coaching the team. But, yeah, I mean, don't freak out. I don't freak out about it. I do not like it, though, sometimes because I see this game and I see the Warriors just based off their talent alone and their synergy. They go on these runs and they make these plays, and I'm like, oh, wow, it's 4-point game, or even in the fourth quarter, 12-point game. And me knowing what they're capable of, like most Warrior fans, you look at it and go, oh, they could definitely go on a run here and really grab this by the horns. But they don't. It's the regular season, and that can be disappointing as a fan. It's kind of, your talent will carry you through one night, and other nights it won't. How much do they want to put into that game? But don't freak out. No one should be freaking out. I mean, they're the reigning world champions. Their roster is better than it was last year. They have a healthy James Wiseman. These things look good. You know what didn't look good last night? Defense wasn't great, and they were sloppy at times. You know what looked really good? Kevon Looney got some of the easiest points of his life down in the paint on some great feeds. Wiseman looked nice. Andrew Wiggins is playing great basketball. So it's all the pieces are there. It's what we want to see, I think, is just a little more consistency, be a little less sloppy. Obviously, we always want them to win. But when the stakes get higher, does the level of play rise? One last thing. A lot of people are saying, the Warriors probably going to want to really put up a good fight tonight because they know the Suns are really going to take this game seriously. I don't even know if the Suns were all that intense about it. I think they were. They wanted to make a bit of a statement, but even if the Warriors do lose the game the way they did, giving up 30 points, close to
134,
134 points, getting blown out. It's still not. I don't think their cage is rattled at all. They're just whatever. We'll just more games to go, and hopefully we have home court advantage in the playoffs. And even if we don't, who cares? We'll see what happens.
Exactly. They're so proven year in and year out when they've won the 4 championships that we're 4 games in. Let's all relax.
Team looks good though, and everybody should be happy about that. Roster looks great. Team looks relatively healthy. The only thing you have to worry about is just them staying healthy. That's about it.
Staying healthy and eventually getting the defense going, but
focusing.
Steve Kerr came on with Tolbert Copes today, and he had a great line saying, "We may be playing in the Run TMC uniforms right now. Sometimes they play. They have the Run TMC classic uniform.
I like those.
We don't. I like them too a lot. But we don't have to have the defense of Run TMC.
Ooh, man, that's kind of that's funny, but it's also kind of a shot too. Okay, thanks, Steve. But it is funny. I know what he's saying.
He's doing that directly at Tom, who played on those teams.
Yeah.
So
I know. No, it's exactly what it is. So that's pretty good. And he's right. He's right about that.
All right. Before we get out of here, Alon, Thursday night game: Ravens at Buccaneers. The Bucs are 1-point favorites, and the over/under is at 45.5. How do you see this game going tomorrow?
I think the game goes over.
Okay.
I think the Bucs finally score some points. I think the Ravens are good for low 20s. I want to pick the Bucs very bad. It is very hard to think that they are going to lose after what happened last week. And I will pick the Ravens because they have Lamar Jackson. I think he's more dynamic. Man, that was painful. So I think the Ravens cover the 1 point and they win outright on the road and the game goes over.
The Bucs got to win sometime. I'm going to take them to win.
They do.
I'm going to lay the points, but I'm going to go under. Thursday night, both of those offenses are not incredibly high-scoring teams, so I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I see the Bucs finally getting a win. So that's how I see things going.
How many points do you think Tom Brady and that offense scores this week? Do you think it's in the 20s?
No, I could see this being a 17-14 type of game.
And that's going to be okay. It's going to be a struggle.
It might be with how these Thursday night games are going and how the Bucs offense has looked. Alon, thank you as always, my friend. Thank you for joining me this week. May catch you next week for Wednesday's show if Steve is not able to do it. But thank you for always being available to fill in.
Anytime, let me know. Wish I could have done it last Sunday, but
all good.
Yeah, technical. Some difficulties. So anyway,
that's one way to put it.
Yeah,
all right, man. Well, thank you guys for watching. Just Ernie as always, and say what we Alon, if you want to do the honors of saying what we always say at the end of the show.
Hey, that's just your opinion, man.